The League Lowdown is back with more Football Manager 2022 Save Ideas. If you've loaded up a game but are unsure of which FM22 teams to manage, perhaps Poland might be home to a club that could be the setting of your next coaching adventure. Poland boasts a collection of well-supported clubs who have produced some of the planet's best players. And Poland is, of course, also famous for the passion of its fans. So let's dive in and investigate the clubs you might take over in the League Lowdown Guide to Poland. Welcome back for another episode of the League Lowdown. This time we're in Poland, one of the most requested countries since we started this series, but one we've resisted for fear of pronouncing the club names, but we can't put it off any longer. Maybe we should ease ourselves in by having a look at how the league structure works. So in Football Manager, you will find two playable divisions in Poland. The top division has 18 clubs. They play each other home and away to create a 34-game season. The top team are, of course, the champions. There are further places up for grabs for European qualification. Down the bottom, a total of 3 teams will all get relegated out of the division by right, down to the Fortuna Liga, which also has 18 teams. It's got the same kind of structure. The top 2 are promoted automatically, and the teams 3rd down to 6th go into a playoff to decide that 3rd promoted club. Down the bottom, 3 teams will exit through that trapdoor into the unplayable leagues. So that's how the league structure works. Let's have a look at the clubs that might tempt you to start a Football Manager adventure in this part of the world, starting the country's most successful team. So the nation's most successful club hail from the capital. The club are Legia. They've got a very neat and tidy 30,000 capacity stadium, and with 15 titles, they are the nation's most decorated team. They've won 19 cups in total and 18 league titles. They are the reigning champions, having won it in 2021. No European honours, but they have come close. They lost in the semi-finals of the European Cup to Feyenoord in 1970, and in 1991, they reached the semi-finals of the European Cup Winners' Cup, exiting to eventual winners Manchester United. They look like a good club if you're interested in developing youngsters. They did have a young Robert Lewandowski on their books who they let go. But for your adventures, well, they've got superb training facilities, superb youth facilities, good academy coaching, and exceptional youth recruitment as well. If you like the idea of taking charge of the reigning champions and a club that is well equipped to compete at the top from the very start of the game, Legia may well be a club that appeals to you. But over recent seasons, there's been a couple of clubs that have been chasing them pretty hard. One of the emerging forces in Polish football is a club called Raków, who don't have the largest stadium. They don't have the biggest supporter base, but last season was the most successful in their 100-year history. They finished runners-up to Legia in the league, and they also managed to win their first ever Polish Cup title as well. In terms of facilities, well, they lag way behind the team from the capital, but they seem to be punching above their weight. And if you like the idea of taking charge of a much smaller club in Football Manager and one that will give you a much bigger challenge budget-wise, well, Raków might be a team that interests you. Another club with a long history with relatively few trophies in it is Lechia Gdansk. This time, we're playing in a much larger capacity arena. This is another club that have never won the Polish top division title, but this season they're having one of their best campaigns, and they've had a little bit more luck in the cup competitions down the years, winning the Polish Cup as recently as 2019. But they're looking for a coach that can take control of them and take them to their first league title. Maybe you're just that coach. Although Legia may be the reigning league champions in Poland, they're languishing towards the foot of the table this season, and leading the charge at the top of the table is Lech Poznan. They had a disappointing campaign themselves last season, but the season before that, they were league runners-up. They've got a very neat 41,000 capacity stadium, and they're also a club that has won the Polish league title on numerous occasions, 7 in total, most recently in 2015, and they've also won the Polish Cup on 5 occasions as well. As you'd expect from one of the better supported clubs in the nation, they've got pretty decent facilities as well. Great training facilities, great youth facilities, exceptional youth recruitment. So Lech Poznan are definitely a club that is performing well this campaign and could develop more of its own talent. But there are other clubs out there in Poland with multiple titles that you could take charge of. Whilst Legia lead the way in terms of Polish titles with 15, a club with 14 of them just one behind are Gornik Zabrze, another club with a fabulous stadium, 24,500 capacity. And this is a club that holds some records in Polish football. They've won those 14 titles, but they hold the record for the most consecutive titles in Poland, winning it 5 times in a row in the 1960s. 1970 was a great year for the club as well. They went all the way to the European Cup Winners' Cup final before losing 2-1 to Manchester City in that final. They've won the Cup 6 times as well, although none of those since the 70s. And even though they've got those 14 league titles, you'll see the last of them came in the late 1980s. So they're on a long run without rediscovering that winning trophy formula. Maybe you're the coach that could take charge of this grand club and restore them to the top of Polish football and finally guide them to a European honour as well. Another club with multiple league titles is Wisla Krakow, but have they got 13 or have they got 14? Well, we'll get to that in a moment. What's undeniable is that they have a very picturesque 33,000 capacity stadium that comes alive for the derby with Cracovia. They've won the Polish Cup on 4 occasions, and they're also listed as winning the Polish title on 13 occasions, missing out the 1951 season when Wisła again finished top of the table, but the team that were declared the champions of Poland were the cup winners that year, even though they only finished 6th in the league. Perhaps Polish viewers might be able to explain why the cup winners were declared champions rather than the team that topped the table that year. But if you like the idea of taking charge of a club that is passionately supported, that you could return to the top table of Polish football, Wisła are definitely an option. But there's another club in the same city that might interest you as well. Like Wisla Cracovia compete in the top division, they don't have as many titles as their fierce rivals, but they do have the honour of being the first ever winners of the Polish top division. They've won the cup once, coming quite recently in 2020, but of their 5 league wins, you've got to go further back into their history to find them. Their first coming in 1921, the most recent coming in 1948. They're another club in Poland that look like they have good facilities if you're interested in developing your own talent. Excellent training facilities, excellent youth facilities, and good youth recruitment as well. They are on a little bit of a barren run since winning that league title, but you could be the coach that takes over, makes them the top team in Krakow, and then tries to compete at the top of Polish and continental football as well. If you like the idea of a rebuild for your next Football Manager adventure, well, we can head down to Poland's second tier and to the city of Łódź, where we will find 2 clubs that have both won Poland's top division title. We'll start with Widzew Łódź, who play in an 18,000 capacity stadium, and in the mid-1980s they were lifting the Polish Cup for the only time in their history, but they've had more success in winning the league. They've won it 4 times in total now, including some back-to-back wins in the early 80s, and then winning the title again in 1996 and 1997. Now languishing down in the second division, it would be far more of a project to take Widzew back to the top of Polish football. Maybe that's the kind of challenge that you yearn for. Alternatively, we might be drawn to the other team in Łódź, who are nicknamed the Knights of Spring and may only play in a 5,700 capacity stadium, but they are listed as the team that are favourites to win the second tier this season. Like Widzew, they've also won the Cup and the League, winning the Cup in 1957, and actually winning the League twice, the most recent of those in 1998. It would be a challenge to take either of the clubs from Łódź back to the top of Polish football. The challenge is what some people are after. So that completes the League Lowdown guide to Poland, brimming with clubs supported by passionate fans and boasting 2 playable divisions for fans of Football Manager. We'll see you very soon when we make another nation the focus of our next League Lowdown.